the Lamborghini Countach, the poster car for teenage boys for 2 generations. And back in the early 90s you could pick one up for as little as £40,000. Now you'll be lucky to find one for £200,000, and that would be a bit ropey. £300,000 for a reasonable, drivable example. Except this isn't a Countach. Gerald Dunbar, Managing Director of Prova. Thank you for letting us come down and take a look at the car. Now, what's your history with the original company?
Going back many years, can I say now Paul Lawrenson is not involved in the company anymore.
Yeah.
I've known Paul for 30 odd years. He was doing the Countach cars.
Yes, I remember those, yeah.
I was always looking on the scene for cars and things, and I found an advert in Manchester, which I went down to Paul, put him in contact with Peter Jackson in Manchester. He went down to Venom Cars, and history was...
Yeah, because Venom were the ones that took the moulds off the original Countach, which started the whole correct, should we say, visually correct.
Yeah, because it came off, it's
yeah.
an exact copy of the real car. Then when the car was built, it was fully built, I saw it in Darwin. I got involved with sales. I sold the first car to Japan. That first demonstrator Peter Jackson and Paul built, I sold that to Japan, and I started advertising in America. And then Paul took over, and Peter, and I just left. I went in a different direction. Many years went by. Peter and Paul split up. Peter then came to me and said, "Would you like to go into working with Sienna Cars?" So me and Peter went with Sienna Cars.
Sienna was they took things a step further, didn't they? With double skin
doors, Alan Booth. We did a show in New York, in Boston. We flew over there with a car. We did a show there. Then the recession came, and basically we'd all stopped then.
Yeah.
And I think
that killed most
of it off. But every year since the late 90s, I've been in contact with Peter Jackson. Sadly, he passed away last year, and he did say to me he wanted to revamp the car and get it started. It's one of his wishes, and that's why one of the reasons we brought the car back out of hibernation and decided to run with it.
So it's a nice tribute to him that the car's back in production.
That's correct, yeah.
So how is the current Prova, has it moved on from the original car? It obviously time has moved on, so has the kit
it has moved on as well? It's gone from an old box, square, heavy gauge chassis to a cab designed tubular chassis with aluminium uprights front and rear. All the Cortina and the Lancia brakes have gone. We're running specially made aluminium rear uprights with 6-pot calipers, 4-pot calipers, same on the front. All the coilover shocks are now multiple valves, really precision suspension, which is fully adjustable.
And you mentioned it. All the components are locally manufactured as well.
All the components are locally manufactured by an engineering company in Darwin. The chassis is made local, the bodies are made local, the interior is made local. The only foreign part in the car is probably the engine, which is the Audi, and the gearbox, and that is it. Everything else is UK built.
So you've moved on from, I mean, the original cars were Rover and Chevy engines. You're now concentrating on the Audis.
On the Audi V8 4.2, which is 450 brake horsepower standard, and with the ECU tweak we are running about 502 brake horsepower from a standard engine, and a very light engine. And it's very low centre of gravity, so the engine can sit a lot lower than Rover V8. So and it's coming in around 11. We've weighed our car in 1132 kilos, running 500 brake. You can do the maths yourself.
So it's pretty rapid.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the customer's perspective. You know, to get a component package to build the car. Do you sell it as a complete package or broken down?
We sell fully built cars, or you'll sell a body chassis, so you get the tubular chassis and the body, which is 9,950. After that, everything else is on the website and all the parts can be bought individually.
And you brought back Prova about 2 years ago?
That's about 2 years ago, yeah.
And that was because of well, I presume the value of...
That is what Peter mentioned, that they're a lot better value now than they were when they were originally built. Cars now are around £350,000. I presume you're doing it yourself, you probably build the car for around £45,000 to £55,000.
So that's, and you've got something that you wouldn't be afraid to use every day, whereas a real Countach for
exactly.
300,000.
Exactly, that's why we're getting customers with real cars who want a car they can use every day without having to worry about breaking down. It's reliable, economical, and parts are easily replaced.
Talking about parts, back in the day, people had to source real Lamborghini parts to be able to complete the car. Are you able to supply?
We manufacture 95% of the parts for the car now. Everything we manufacture, even down to the rear tail lights now. We're remanufacturing the rear tail lights.
And a few people have been contacting you with part-built replicas from other manufacturers as well.
That's great, yeah, people asking us, well they started asking us, oh, did you ever get any part-built cars? And funny enough, some people have brought one and they want to upgrade and start again from scratch. So what we've done with a service to all the old Prova people to keep everybody happy is like, if we get an offer, we're going to put them on the website and we can supply all the parts to finish them.
So you're actually facilitating putting person A in touch with person B and all the components that they need that they couldn't source elsewhere, you're able to source so that they can actually finish their cars.
That is correct, yes.
And there's going to be the purist who's going to want a V12 option. Is that available? Yeah,
the engine bay is exactly the same as the original. It will fit as V12 engine in. People are coming along and wanting the BMW V12, which is fine if they want to fit that. It's the customer's preference, the customer's always right. The reason we don't, because the V12 is only 340 brake horsepower, very hard to get more brake horsepower out of it. It's a big heavy lump, where our V8 is a lot smaller, lighter, and it's producing 500 brake horsepower, so it's just, that's the way we go. If the customer wants a V8, a V12, it's fine. The V8 revs to 9,000 and it sounds absolutely fantastic.
Well, it is a classic engine in its own right, that Audi engine, isn't it?
It is.
So,
it is.
And you've already had some exports, so it's
yeah, we've done one for Japan, we've got one going to Norway, the UK, and lots of interest around the world. It's just getting the different countries have different criteria for IVA, so that's the only criteria.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for letting us come down and take a look at the car. Wish you every success. I mean, you're providing every schoolboy's dream. As a schoolboy in the 80s, I definitely had that poster. So thank you very much.
People have one. They still have today.
It's either that or the tennis girl, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So what's it like to live with one of these cars? I went to visit Terry Fox. Terry, I think of all the people I've ever met, you probably know more about Lamborghini replicas from a customer perspective than anyone that I've come across, because how many have you built or owned?
Built a Prova originally, going way, way back, and I've rebuilt this Mastico, and I'm now building the Sienna. So that's 3. I've sold 2 other ones that I've had in my possession and sold, and looking at doing 1 more probably.
So, going back over the history of the Countachs for people who are watching,
Yeah.
there was a big rush in the late 80s to actually come up with a viable Countach kit,
Yeah,
and it started the realistic-ish looking ones. I mean, when we move on from the Countess and the Panache and all those, when we get onto the ones that almost looked like a Lamborghini, we're starting with the Venom, which sort of
the first body
was the
mould,
first
basically.
body mould off a real Lambo, which disappeared, and the Prova was probably the first
proper looking
one to actually be produced.
Certainly marked as a complete a kit.
Yeah.
That you could go away and build. Yes. For a realistic price. I think that was the idea.
Yeah.
The first one. Whether that was the case or not is a bit different.
And was that the first one you owned?
I built a Prova, the first original Prova, the early Prova. A lot of work went into that one. A lot of work, and it's now in Germany, still going.
Yeah.
But
so I mean, to the layman who hasn't built cars, I mean, it's not exactly a project to do as your first kit build, is it?
It's not a kit car in the terms of kit car, like a Robin Hood or something. It's certainly a lot of engineering skill needs to go into it, and remanufacturing of parts, even the door fitting. They never fitted properly on that first Prova. They were wobbled around quite a bit, and you had to re-engineer the hinges, get the doors to work properly. Bits where the chassis weren't very good. Even though it was a Lee-Noble chassis, it was shortened from a GT40 basically, and there's a lot of bits you had to really do to put right on it. But again, it was built for a budget. That's the thing of these things at the time. You know, everybody wanted a Countach look-alike. Everybody wanted to spend probably no more than £10,000 to £15,000 building one.
Yeah.
The reality of that is gone now.
Yes. I mean, what sort of budget did you... I mean, it's difficult to say on a car that... But at that time, what sort of budget did your...
At that time, I bought mine from a farm in Bristol, and it was stored basically as the kit, not really put together. The body was mounted onto the chassis, that was it. And I paid for about £4,500 for that first Prova as bits, basically. I sold it going way, way back for about 15k. So I made a bit of money on that one, but it probably cost me as much as that to build it.
Yeah.
I even made the wheels for that one because you couldn't get the replica wheels at that time. So I had to CNC the wheels to get the authenticity. So those bits weren't there then. The authenticity wasn't there in the bits to go on it. You could buy the body shell, and then everything else you had to sort of make. So, and that's where we started. And on the Sienna, that came with £25,000 worth of parts on an Excel spreadsheet.
The Sienna, again, going through the manufacturers, I mean, Prova was the first, GB500 with the V12, I don't think I've ever seen a finished one of those.
I've seen one. Yeah.
That had the Jaguar V12, didn't it? Yeah. And then there was the Mirage.
Yeah, Mirage Mark 1 and Mark 2.
Mark 2.
Mirage Mark 1 was basically a Prova shaped body. Mirage Mark 2, they corrected some of the things like the windscreen pillars, because obviously the early Prova and the early Mirage had very wide wing A-posts. Yeah. And the roof was quite flat, so Mirage Mark 2 tried to address some of that. And then they added some aluminium panels as well to make it a bit more authentic. I sold a nice yellow Mirage Mark 2 that my friend had, and that fetched quite a lot of money. Yeah. And it was mint, but he never drove it. So there's building it to show standard, and actually driving it is a different thing. Yeah. So there's people who build them to drive, like I do, or build them to show. Yeah. I built this, and it sits in the garage. So there's two versions of when you build these sort of kits. Yeah. And so after the Prova, you had I had a Mastico. A Mastico, which is the red car outside. Which is the red one we went in today, which is completely different to any of them. It's got a birdcage round tube space frame, like the original Countach, and it's very light, super light. But the roof shape is, I think, is better because it's got the curve and it's got higher glass, so you don't feel confounded into sort of a squash space. And it's quite a nice place to be to drive. So. And that one I've had now 5 years on the road, so it's standing the test of time. And I do hammer it, as you've seen today.
And as a driving experience, though, I mean, first of all, you're in a Countach.
Yeah.
So there's the feeling of being in a Countach.
The feeling, but it's easier to drive. I've driven a real one. Yeah.
And then, but
Yeah.
on top of that, there's the added feeling that you've built it yourself.
Yeah.
So you've got that
yeah.
extra something on top. And but how often are you able to use it?
Every weekend when it's sunshine. Even sometimes, like see when it's raining, I've even used it. And the good thing with that one, I built it for reliability and usability. The body's got a bit of patina I want sorting out, but I quite like that because it looks more 80s than a brand new kit car looking one. So I'm in two minds whether to paint it or not, but I think I will paint it this year. But once the Sienna's done. But the Masterco one, but they only made 5 and they spent so long building the chassis. I think he ran out of money building the chassis. Because it is quite a beautiful piece of art on its own. And then the body was quite rough. I've done a lot of work on the body to make it right. The front dipped slightly, as most of them do. They have this sort of Chinese look about them where they dip in, and the one-piece moulds don't always work very well. And they all suffer that. So that's one of the first things you've got to sort out.
It's a very big moulding as a one piece, isn't
Massive,
it? So
yeah,
so you're going to get some.
So on the front of the Masterco, mine's all separate parts now, so you can actually alter the level of the lights and the angles and the fit. But that took some real chopping about to do. It's not for the faint-hearted, that one. But I like it better now, and it's all sorted. It looks the part now. The other thing is it's usable. I mean, you've seen today, it drives like a Ford Focus, but you're in a Countach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can pull at the travel lights, I can see in queues, there's no aggravation, no overheating, there's no stalling, no petrol smell. It does what it's supposed to do. As a kit car, you want to enjoy it.
And you said it's about 900 kilos.
Yeah, it's only about 900 kilograms. So.
And you've got 300 plus brake horsepower from a TBR V8 in the back.
Yeah, yeah. If you use the nitrous, it's a bit more.
Nitrous?
Yeah.
Long. And what gearbox is that running through?
It's still running a modified Renault UN1.
Right.
Yeah, the third gearbox. I've broke 3 already.
Yeah, there's a borderline on the torque, I'd imagine, with that.
Yeah. I've had to have a special one-piece shaft put in now, just to take the power. I probably should have gone to an Audi gearbox, but at the time the Audi gearboxes were quite expensive compared to the Renaults. Now the Renaults are expensive as well.
Yeah.
But I had 2 spare boxes, so I used the second one in the end. I mean, I had the first one mended, and it didn't last much longer. So we're now on the third gearbox.
And you've got an Esprit as well, a Lotus Esprit.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
as a comparison,
Completely
okay, but I mean, in terms of you're in a supercar, it's as drivable, if not more.
The Countach is more drivable than the Lotus. The Lotus you have to concentrate all the time. It's skittish, it's like a cart. Whereas mine, the red Countach, the Masterco, you saw I could go around the corners without thinking about braking. In the Lotus you have to sort of think about it still. It's not quite as planted, even though Lotus are renowned for their handling. I don't feel as comfortable in the Lotus as I do in the Masterco.
Right.
Masterco, I can take the corners at any speed, and as you said, I lost the walkie-talkie under the seat. The only thing that moved was the walkie-talkie.
Yeah, and it looks beautiful on the road, of course, as well.
Yeah,
so
it's a nice car to be in. But I say, it drives like you drive. You check gear changes easier, the brakes are easier, clutch is easier. It's all the bits that affected the genuine Countach, which I nearly bought an anniversary many years ago, and I bought a Bentley GT instead. So investment-wise, I lost out. Luxury-wise, at the time it was the right thing to do. I enjoyed the Bentley. I love that car, but that's why I bought the Prova. I thought, if I can't buy the real anniversary Countach, which was £49,000 then, so they were dirt cheap because nobody wanted them then.
Yeah.
Now everybody's, an anniversary starts at probably £200,000-300,000.
Yeah.
But at the time, this was quite a ropey one. The gear change was awful on it. It crunched the gears. It was really hard to put in gear. The clutch was.
So you're probably looking at a lot of money just to live with that, aren't you? Because just put
yeah.
right those problems.
Well, it just wasn't enjoyable to drive.
Yeah.
Especially locally, where I lived at the time in Derby. At the time, it wasn't nice to drive locally. I took it out and I came back. I was sweaty.
Yeah.
One with the car itself being a genuine one. Secondly, with the fact that it was hard to drive. Whereas now, just been out to the golf club. It's just a nice sort. Like you're going out in a full Fiesta, but with a Countach look.
Yeah.
And it parks up, you get out of it, everything works, there's no trauma, it just does the job. Enjoyability factor, the smile on the face is still there, even though it's a replica.
Yeah.
But it's as close as I want to get, to be honest with you, to a real one. And for the money I paid for that one and for what I've done to it, it stands me a good amount of money at the moment. I spent quite a bit of money getting it to where it is, and then when I had the paint it will be even more, but I wouldn't sell that one over any of the other models, to be honest with you.
And the car that's being built, there's a sad story at the start, but it's a nice story how it's...
Unfortunately, the guy that I knew that was building it over nearly 10 years in his garage, he was an engineer, and he really did a fantastic job. I'll leave some photos with you to look at later, but as you can see by some of the photos, it was put together in a pristine style. Every ribbon, every bolt was like measured like 1 inch per space, and it was done to perfection. Unfortunately, the poor man, he had a very brief encounter with cancer and passed away. And when I spoke to his wife, she wanted me to have it to finish it. And I said, I'll do it, but I'll do it on the basis that you get to see it when it's done. And, you know, because she sat there for month after month watching him build this car in the garage. So it was all part of her life as well as his.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful, put together piece of kit. As a kit, it's more together as a proper kit with everything there.
Because that was all double skinned, wasn't it?
Double skinned, it's got separate panels like wheel arches, front bumper, seals even. And even inside the door has a second skin, so it's not just blank moulds like all the rest were. This one's had some thought about how it's put together. And everything fits perfectly, of course, that's the thing about it. Alan, who sort of set Sienna up, he started building Provas originally, but decided that they needed to be better than they were. So he built the Sienna, rectifying all the faults basically that the Provas had. And so there's a new Prova which is coming into the marketplace, and they really have got to beat that level, I believe, at the moment. That's the standard still as the Sienna. There's a few people building one-offs. There's a guy I know in Norway who's built a one-off in aluminium, but that's a lifetime ambition.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't have time for that. I've got a full-time job and 4 cars to play with, so including the Aston, which I'm still messing with. So I've got enough projects as it is.
So. As somebody who's looking at a Countach, either second hand or to build,
yeah,
what would your first piece of advice be?
Make sure as much of it is there from day one, because the parts cost you a fortune. The glass, the bits and pieces, that's what counts the money, not the kit. People buy the Countach, look at the body and the chassis, and that's the easy bit. Then it's all the suspension, the engine, the fixings, fittings, just everything on it is costs a fortune now, because you have to use basically genuine bits. There's a few people out there making replica parts, but most of the ones I'm building now have the proper correct bits on them. So if you want Countach bits on it, it costs you money.
So you're talking about a fair budget now?
Oh yeah, and so the last 2 that sold in auction went for £50,000 plus. So if you put that money into it, that's the money you'll get back. If you don't put that sort of money into it, you probably won't get any near the return. Depends what people are building them for. I mean, I didn't build my red one, my master code, to make money. I built it for enjoyment.
Yeah.
And as I say, it could do a respray, but like we've discussed, you can use it. I don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing, though. It's the pleasure of owning the car
absolutely.
and driving the car. That's
Yeah.
the whole point of any kit car. Never mind.
Yeah, well, that's the idea of kit cars initially, was to do your own thing and enjoy what you want to do, rather than what the manufacturer said you've got to do. And kit cars have come a long way since the early days, though, obviously. And obviously this one's got the IVA pass on it, so that's all done and dusted. And it's also emissions exempt. So the MOT man just looks at it and it's clear.
And as you mentioned, the Prova's coming back. I heard stories about another of the Countach replicas coming back. Is possibly a resurgence. I mean, obviously it's an engineering job to build them,
Yeah.
but when you finish them, are you living with a supercar or just a lookalike?
No, it's both. It's a lookalike, but it is a supercar. I mean, you've seen the speed mine
Yeah.
caught you up with. I dropped back a bit to give you a bit of space and then just floored it and let you see how quick it can be. Depends what you want to put in it. I mean, the Sienna's going to have a V12 BMW in it, so it'll look more authentic, but it probably won't be as fast as the red one.
Yeah.
But it will have a V12 sort of look and feel to it. Whereas the Rover stroke TVR V8, it's an aluminium, very light engine as well. It's not 220 pounds. I mean, the BMW and the bigger engines, the Audis, they're between 350 and 400 pounds of weight. So you're carrying that mass. So what I like of mine is the cornering.
Yes.
And I've still got the power.
Yeah.
If you want looks, yeah, you put a V12 in it. If you want it to actually go on a track fast, like mine's been around Rockingham, it will do it. And it surprised a few cars there, like McLarens and things. Said, "Well, you're still behind me." I said, "Well, yeah, but it's a replica, yeah. How?" So then we looked at the bonnet and said, "My God, yeah, no wonder you kept up with me."
So you mentioned there's still one more Countach in you?
Yeah, probably. Probably an LP400, the early one without the arches and the periscope top.
Yeah.
That's probably the last one I'll do. Depends on time and budget and retirement plans really, but you know, I'm getting too old for this game now.
Well, thank you very much for letting us look at
pleasure,
the car, and
pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, and the car is a credit to you.
Well, thank you.
Well, that's it for our Countach Replica special. Hope you enjoyed it. Please click on like and subscribe, and if you want to be really wonderful, go to www.patreon.com/nwin, because that's how we fund these videos, and we really do need your support. Next time we're at Stoneleigh, so we'll see you then. It's also too small for me.